Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned.
Tune the madness down the rage. The world's a jungle stage by stage. Shock Monkey Radio. Feel the static, let it go. Shock Monkey Radio. Twist it down and lose control.
In the words of Randy Travis, there are horses in heaven. It says it in the Bible. Right there in Revelation, red and pale and black and white. Elijah left this world on a chariot of fire. When Jesus comes back, he might just borrow the silver for the night. There are horses in heaven, so I bet that God's a cowboy, heading off into the sunset in a big white Stetson hat. Every time you hear thunder, it's just a posse full of angels riding those horses up in heaven, golden saddles on their back. And when the roll is called up yonder and they put me out to pasture, I hope there's a pretty palomino just beyond the gate. I'm going to stop. I got to stop. Somebody said this song to me and they said, really think about it. Really think about it, madman. And they're like, look, Revelation is a weird book. It's a weird book. And I know it says Jesus is coming back on a big horse, and it's terrifying to me. And I have to say that if I don't know if there's horses, I wouldn't say it's heaven. If there are horses there, man, I wouldn't trust Jesus. It's like, Jesus, please tell me. Please don't approach me on a horse. I'd rather you just show up in person. And he's like, don't worry, madman. We got this whole section set out for you in heaven. There's posted signs, no horses allowed. And you don't have to see them if you don't want to. And there's no chance I would want to. But even then I'd be living, and there's like, I feel like I want to wake up from this dream, this nightmare. There's horses in heaven? So I don't know if I should be mad at Randy Travis or St. John or what, the Catholic Church who put together what is canon in the Bible. After all, I mean, I can go to downtown Fredericksburg and find 3 guys that think they talk to God on the reg. Okay? Should we ask them what they think is going to happen in the future? And maybe it is a metaphor. Maybe they were talking about the chariot of fire. Maybe it's just the only thing St. John could comprehend was a horse. Maybe it's the only thing his mind could see, but it's an awesome spaceship, and he just starts blasting all the evil people on Earth with lasers. Come on. We going to trust this guy? You trust this guy about what happens in the future? I don't even trust a weatherman. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, The Madman. I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I would appreciate that very much. Or you can send me money through Cash App. Use the cash tag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. I'd appreciate it. You can follow me on social media over here. Okay. And like, even when they talk about a post-apocalyptic world, like what's that movie? Left Behind, or what's the one? Seth Rogen and Danny McBride, and This Is the End. Is that it? Yeah. And you're like left behind in this world, and like none of the technology really works, or there's going to be a while until like there's no more gasoline to keep cars going, and then at some point you're going to have to like convert to horses. And like, so it's like even on Earth and in heaven, there's horses. How does that make sense? It shouldn't make sense. Did you bring up the picture of the horses just to terrify me?
Yeah.
You should have.
These horses?
Ah! Heavenly horses! They're scary. Like, horses coming from heaven is scarier than a unicorn. You know what I mean? Anyway. You're in a post-apocalyptic world, man. Heaven, hell. You tell me hell's the only place that doesn't have horses? Oh, man. I clipped my fingernails last night. I had this hangnail, and I was like, on it like this. You know, you've done that, right? Like, you got a little hangnail on it, do it, you know. and it popped off, and I like reflexively swallowed, and I was like, oh no. I said, oh no, I'm a cannibal. Then I thought back, I was like, how long have I been a cannibal? Because I remember like being a stupid young boy, like 5, 6 years old, like picking a scab and eating it. All right, I know it's gross to bring up, but sorry, it was 1970. It was 1979. I picked a scab for the first time. I was like, what does it taste like? And it's not bad. Yeah, there's worse things to eat. Like, it's better than a hangnail. I'll put it like that way. And so I was wondering, it's like, have I been like a cannibal since I've been 5 years old? You know, and it's only like self cannibalism. I'm only interested in eating myself. You know, it's not like I go up and like collect people's hair. This is a creepy as hell thought, because people shed hair all the time, and so you'll collect it. You can collect people's hair if you're like really weird and interested in this kind of behavior. I highly don't recommend it, but you can collect people's hair and like make a ball out of it. It's like, I'm gonna eat a ball of EK's hair. Is that like cannibalism?
Sounds a little bit.
Sounds like a little bit like cannibalism, I think. And maybe we've all been there. We've all like had a little hangnail or picked a scab or a booger. Think about that. How many of you have eaten a booger? Be honest. I know it's gross to talk about, but let's be honest. What percentage of the population of the entire planet has eaten a booger? Be honest. What do you think that number is? 95+%? What do you think? So is that self cannibalism? Or do you think it's just the fact like that you don't necessarily want to eat anyone else, because eating yourself is kind of like sniffing your own farts? You understand what I'm getting at? Like, your brand is the best, you know? And the reason why your farts taste the best, or smell the best to you, is because it's your gastrointestinal system. You know, you're familiar with it. When you burp, that's come from the same system, and so everything that you eat, everything that you drink, it all has that taint of your insides. It's and so when you eat yourself, it's like sniffing your own farts, only like weird and cannibalism-y. Moving right along. Might be short show today. I don't know. EK's under the weather, and we're using a different mic. Hi, Mike. Is he going to be okay holding that boom the whole time?
Sounds like it.
All right, Mike. Hang in there. All right. We were all off on this past Thursday. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I sure did. Stuffing, corn pudding. You ever have that? Yeah. My mom makes it every year now, and so it's awesome. I love it. But on that Thursday, I was trying to do some work on BitChute, like upload some videos, and BitChute was acting like really weird on Thanksgiving Day. And I was like, I'm trying to upload this video, like now it's in this like loop, it's trying to reload, but it's not reloading. I'm like, oh man. And it knocked loose some memories of back in like the late 90s, early aughts, when you'd go home for vacation. For me, I was like in the Navy or in school or something like that. And you'd come home to vacation, man. It was like, hey, have you heard of this website called like the picking one I talked about recently, SeanBaby.com? And you're like, no. And then you go to the computer, right? The desktop computer that we all had, the Packard Bell, and let's pull up this SeanBaby.com website. And it comes up, but all the JavaScripts are broken. And you're like, oh man, I can't show you any of this. It's not working. And it's like, well, why don't we email the admin? And it's like, well, there's no point. It's Christmas break. It's the 23rd of December, and the JavaScript, and you know the JavaScript isn't going to work on SeanBaby.com until January 2nd, January 3rd. Because that's how it was back then. It's like, it's the holidays, I'm not doing any website stuff, And I remember even I had my website, and like, yeah, I wouldn't post a lot of stuff. I'd take part in like the family celebration. We all lived in the real world a lot more back in those days. We don't carry around these little devices that contain the entire world's information, staring down at it all the time. And you people who doom scroll with the volume on no earbuds or nothing. Fucking stop. Please stop. Nobody wants to hear the ridiculous stuff that you are listening to and watching. And so many people do that. So many people do that they can't really like focus on something as long as this show. And that's kind of, people say that's the problem with your show. You don't have these 5-minute clips that you can upload to TikTok to rope in all the idiots. And I was like, I don't think I'm trying to reach the idiots. They're kind of dumb. They're interested in dumb things, Anyway, and shifting gears into this topic of shifting gears, sometimes it takes a little while for me because I leave right from here to go to work. And so it takes a little while, like after a show, for me to shift gears into work mode. I'm still in kind of like ranty mode, I guess, rant mode. And so when I get to work, but I'm also, it's like all the stuff I talked about on the show, all the media I presented and stuff like that. And I remember specifically a couple of weeks ago, we did that ad, the ad about the talking horse. You remember? It's the horse was like, oh, that's a one-trick pony. I'm a multi-trick pony. It was a nag. It was a literal nag. And I'm up at work, and I'm just sitting there thinking about that scene with that horse going, what'd you say? It's like, that's my mother. And it's just like, oh my God, it's just so trifling. It's, and I'm sitting there thinking that at work, and my boss is looking at me, you paying attention? And I was like, oh yeah, friggin' horses again, And so it takes a little while for me to shift gears and get back into work mode. Do you experience that? Doesn't everybody experience that? I mean, if you're doing like different types of things a day, like for example, if you work in like an office place and you don't often give like pitches, and it's your turn, like once every 6 months, you got to do a pitch or something like that, and you have to kind of like psych yourself up to do that. You can even argue like if you're a performer, if like you're in a band or you're a comedian or something like that, and before you go on stage, you do something to psych yourself up, get yourself into the mode of thinking of I'm going to be a performer. And I guess this show is kind of like being a performer, but I mean, I don't really psych myself up. EK showed me a really interesting exercises like non-jumping jacks. That helps. That's good, I guess. Any calisthenics really helps. But what was I talking about? Changing, shifting gears from one thing to another. And I was thinking about like the other night we were playing a role-playing game. We play that for like 2 or 3 hours, and you're thinking about it for 2 or 3 hours. And then next thing you know, I'm laying in bed and I'm still thinking about it. I need to go to sleep. Just stop thinking about the game. What if I did this with my character? What if I made a character like that? That would be, I need to sleep. Shut my mind off. Even when I'm like daydreaming, do you do that? Do you daydream at all? You sit there. I mean, like, I guess going to sleep is probably the best time to do it, I suppose, until you fall asleep. But, or just think about conspiracy theories, just sitting there and it's like, these people who think 9/11, it's like, why can't it just simply be some crazy Muslim terrorist? Why? The government will let it happen. It's like, that's the kind of stuff you could think about. And maybe you're thinking about conspiracy theories for like an hour and a half, or ghost videos and stuff. Like sometimes I'll watch those and just like, nah, I don't believe it. And then you're thinking about maybe even God, the nature of the universe. You think about that for a while, and then you got to shift gears, and then somebody wakes you up. Would you pay attention? You're at work, and it's like, oh yeah, I was thinking about God and the nature of the universe. It's deep stuff. You need to pay attention to what you're doing before you chop a digit off. It's like, well, you shouldn't let me run the table saw. So, shifting gears. Do people even do that anymore? Shifting gears? You think you do that, like, or control your mind in any way? And I think that's the problem, is the doom scrolling. It's like you're constantly at this need for, make me laugh right away. Like, literally just snapping right there. That could be a clip. Like, if I ran it through AI, it's like, you clapping, you snapping would have been a clip. But it probably would miss the context of what I meant by the snapping and so forth. It's just something snappier. So if I did something crazier, then that is going to be the thumbnail that YouTube presents to me. Because I'm like, yeah! And say, ooh, that's a good thumbnail. But is the nature of my show doing crazy antics like that, or is it the things I'm saying? You know, and people like I don't want to watch this YouTube channel because this guy's way too introspective. Anyway, let's do a movie review. Weird rant. I feel lazy today. I'm sorry. So I watched Private Benjamin, 1980 movie. I'm going to pan it. All right. And I want you to know that it doesn't mean that that's a bad movie. All right. Even when I do a movie review and I give something like 1 star, that's how I got the enjoyment out of the movie, is by panning it. And Private Benjamin is actually a good movie. People will, especially if you're a woman, you will like Private Benjamin because the ending is really good and positive and upbeat for women, I guess. The modern era women. And, but in my mind, when I watch this movie again, having, like the first time I saw this movie is pre-Navy. Last time I watched this movie was 2 nights ago, and I'd been in the Navy, and now it's like, oh, this movie is about everything wrong with women in the military. I'm sorry. You know, there's some jobs that, they shouldn't be doing. Like jumping out of airplanes. First of all, Goldie Hawn was like 35 when this movie came out. 35 years old. Holy cow, did she look good for a really long time. She's as old as my dad. You know? She's a boomer. I mean, it shows now, but I mean, what a looker she was for a long time. And a tiny, tiny woman as well. Very tiny. And supposedly she's 28 years old in the movie. And I'm sorry, that's really kind of old to be joining the military. I think there were people who enlisted at about 20. I think 28 was a cutoff, you know. Anyway, and so Private Benjamin's story is quite tragic because, and it's funny because a lot of people do join the military after a tragedy. And so all she wanted to be was a cute little wifey poo. She wanted to find a good professional man who could provide for her and stuff like that. It's all very sweet. I think women should think that way. And she met a real nice Jewish guy, and they went and got married, and on their wedding night, they're having sex on the bathroom floor, and he has a heart attack and dies. And she doesn't know what to do. And so, and all the money was with his family and so forth. And so she's like on her own again. Which it's interesting that she's 28 years old in the movie because, I mean, he didn't get an education or nothing. It's like, and so when you finally joined the army, you weren't like an officer or something like that. So she like enlisted in the army. But so she's just devastated, obviously, because that's a horrible thing to happen to a person. And so she's just, she's talking on, like, calls a radio call-in show. It's just whining about her life and stuff like that. There's the caller to the call-in show calls and tells her, it's like, hey, Judy, yeah, I got something that could change your life. And she goes and meets this guy. And he's an army recruiter. And he's like, starts pitching. It's like, oh, it's a brand new army. Yeah, we totally have women in it. And it's not like a barracks, big smelly barracks anymore. There's like villas by the sea. You know, everyone gets a private boat and shit. It's recruiters, you know?
Nice.
Yeah, and there's even a scene later in the movie, and it's like people, other recruits are with her, saying, it's like, you still believe in what your recruiter told you? Yeah. And it was like that going in the military and so forth. But she enlists in the army, and how can I put this? All right, one of the big problems with women in the military is fraternization. And Craig T. Nelson shows up in this movie. And even the officer, played by Eileen Brennan, classic actress, awesome actress, she plays a captain that's pushing these recruits and so forth. But Craig T. Nelson shows up, and she's just gooey for him. You know, she's the officer in charge of this division. And you find out later that a bunch of other chicks in this army are gooey for him. And so even though you have like a mutual kind of thing going on with this guy and many of the females in this division, the problem is that it's fraternization. A superior officer shouldn't be like dating and banging a bunch of chicks that are in his, under his responsibility. That's called fraternization in the military, and it's not allowed, and, it'd be less of a problem if women weren't in the military. All right. So that's just like one problem. All right. But there is this great scene where, obviously, Private Benjamin is a real prissy chick. And when she gets to boot camp, she's giving Eileen Brennan a hard time. This captain, and this captain just loves berating this pretty little priss, because you're in the Army now, and so forth. And she's got other problems with other recruits and so forth, and she's kind of got an attitude, and Miss Priss, right? And there's a scene where her parents show up at boot camp, and she comes in soaking wet in a uniform. This is where that image comes from. It's a good image to promote the movie. And she's soaking wet, and her parents are like, and Eileen Brennan's just so excited. Yes, you get to go home. You're out of here. You're no longer in my hair. And Private Benjamin says, like, I can go home and go, like, with my tail between my legs, or I can move on and actually do something with my life and stick with the Army. She makes a brave decision to stick with the Army. And as somebody who served in the military, I have to say I got to respect that. I really do. And so she obviously survives boot camp and so forth. And then she goes and gets this, like, and so there's all sorts of these problems with this Craig T. Nelson guy. He's banging one of the recruits, and Eileen Brennan finds out, and it's just this woman drama, going around, and it's really, really needless. And so, so people get in trouble because of fraternization. And then she finally gets to move to Belgium as part of, like, the Supreme Allied headquarters in Belgium, which is what, like, Army chicks like that get, the jobs they get, And it's basically a secretary to this other, like, Army guy. I forget, some Turkish fella. And so, Private Benjamin, that kind of thing. And so she's in Europe like she always dreamed to be, and so forth. And she's meeting hot guys like Armand Asante, and he's such a dreamboat, and he's, like, trying to charm her. And he's like, he gets one of the best lines. I don't know, maybe it's the editor that has the best, or the director of photography that had the best joke in the movie. And he's sitting there trying to charm her, and she's like, I don't know, I kind of want to get to know you better. And he's, like, trying to think of other things to impress her. And he's like, let's see, I'm Jewish. And then it cuts to him having sex with Goldie Hawn. And I'm like, oh, man, what a mess. Additionally, when you have, like, women deployed in these forward locations like this, especially like in a city like Belgium or something like that, you're going to have them fraternizing with the local population. And then there's all these issues that come up with her in the Army, where they're like, oh, this Armand Asante character, I know he's a dreamboat and everything, but he's a communist, And obviously in the 80s, communism was the worst of all things. And so, and it still kind of is. I don't know. Socialism may be worse. I don't know. Anyway, it's so, she gets in trouble because Armand Asante is a communist, and and she's like, oh, I don't care anyway. I'm gonna get married to him and stuff like that. And she finds out he's cheating on her because he's a player. Chicks seem to love players. I don't know what to tell you. In the Army or out. And so if they're communist or not, they really don't care. And so she finds out she's cheating, and in the end, she runs away from a wedding. Glad she didn't make a huge mistake. And I think that's, I don't know, pretty positive ending. It's like running away, leaving a bad dude at the altar, I don't think is a bad thing. I do believe in the sanctity of marriage, and marriage is a very special thing. But you should have better taste in men, generally. All right, ladies. And I mean that, like, all of you, 100% of you. You need better taste in men, generally. And so, she had Captain Brennan, Eileen Brennan. She comes back later and holds a catty grudge, because you know what, chicks hold a catty grudge. And in the second act, there was a scene where she joined the Thornbirds, which was like a airborne division. And look, I don't know if I need to get into the argument of physics and stuff like that, but if you get a 105-pound Goldie Hawn and you strap her down with all the equipment she can carry, and throw her out of an airplane with a parachute, I still can't be sure she'll ever come down. She's just not heavy enough. All right, and people who have ever been in airborne know this. It's like the lightest guys are the last guys down. You know, and it's kind of the thing that makes these guys who are 120-pound guys think maybe I shouldn't be an airborne because I'm going to be shot at more than everybody else. And so it's always a bad idea to put it. I'm not saying that there aren't women who couldn't be airborne, but when you're 105 pounds, when you're an actress like Goldie Hawn, you know, you really shouldn't be jumping out of airplanes. Sorry. It's just the simple physics of weight issues, you know. Sorry. And so, yeah, good stuff. Yeah, and in that scene where she's about to jump out of the airplane, this is like a really, really important point about this movie. The Colonel, Thornburg, or whatever, the guy, she refuses to jump, which kind of disqualifies you, I think. And so she refuses to jump, and so he says, "Oh well, we could say that you did if you have sex with me," which is obviously blackmail and illegal, and that guy should be court-martialed and so forth, because that's not how things should work in the military or anywhere else, if you ask me. Using sex to help someone get ahead, and that's a big problem in the military. It really is. And so I found it interesting because whenever a movie about the military comes out, you know that the military signed off on it, right? And they wanted to make the Army look good, probably to females. And that's why they threw Armand Desante in there. You can be a dude like this, And man, he did look good back in 1980. He was a good-looking dude, And a little hairy for my taste. And male. A little too hairy and male for my taste, but yeah, he was a good looking dude. And 7 of 13 stars. My final word on the film is that women needlessly complicate an already complicated military. All right, let's go to the news worth knowing. See if we can find some sexism in there. All right. I like Marco Rubio because he's a smart guy, but whenever you get an article with quotes from him, it'll almost put you to sleep. So we'll get through this because intelligent, compact information, it unfortunately is boring. I'm sorry. Secretary of State Marco Rubio sharply criticized the regime of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro in an interview with Hannity on Tuesday as President Donald Trump intensifies pressure on the leader to abdicate power. Quote, "The Maduro regime is not a legitimate government," Rubio told Fox News host Sean Hannity. Went on to say, what it is a transshipment organization. It allows cocaine and other drugs that are produced in Colombia to be trafficked through Venezuelan territory, and with cooperation of elements of the regime are allowed to leave Venezuela on airplanes and ships headed towards the United States. The Trump administration, this is not a quote, has continued strikes on alleged drug boats near Venezuela and expanded its military presence in the region. He went on to say, Marco Rubio, the president, has authorized a counter-drug mission in the region. The fact that Maduro is upset about it tells you that drugs are coming out of Venezuela. The administration is moving forward with plans to end temporary protected status for an estimated 600,000 Venezuelans living in the United States. Rubio accused the Maduro regime of openly cooperating with drug dealers and has said his leadership is fueling instability in South America. The Venezuelan regime is a source of instability in the entire region, he claimed. Over 8 million Venezuelans have flooded into neighboring countries as a result of the regime's activities within their own country, including into the United States. The former Florida senator claimed the problem with Maduro is his habit of failing to honor agreements. Quote, "If you wanted to make a deal with him, Maduro, I don't know how you do. He's broken every deal he's ever made. Maduro has 5 deals with 5 different parties, five deals with different parties over the last 10 years and has broken every single one of them," Rubio told Fox News. He discussed the failed deal between President Joe Biden and the Venezuelan leader that no one talks about. Quote, "Maduro asked Biden that his nephews, convicted drug traffickers, be released from U.S. prisons," Rubio explained. He asked that his chief money launderer be released from U.S. custody before he stood trial. In exchange, he promised to hold free and fair elections. He got the nephews back, the drug dealers, he got the bagman back, and he never did free and fair elections. They suckered Joe Biden. They are not going to sucker Donald Trump, he added. So like I said, it's terse. A lot being said. Marco Rubio is a smart guy. Unfortunately, you need more than that to become president. I was upset when he didn't do too well in that primary. But, I mean, wasn't Trump there? So that's what I mean. You need a bit of cult of personality. Being smart isn't enough. You should be funnier, Marco. Maybe. Throw in some jokes here and there, Marco. Maybe people will subscribe more to your channel. That doesn't really work for me. All right, let's go on to this next story. Trump-backed Republican keeps crucial congressional seat. I just closed my window. I got to pull this up again. Hold on. Yeah, so obviously, the reason this is on my mind is because Matt Walsh has not been shutting up about this. I mean, I understand that there's this whole issue with all these insane Democrat candidates that are going being put up by the Democrats and be supported by the Democrats. But I guess because it's in Matt Walsh's district, he's been very harping on this race a whole bunch, and I guess we held on to the seat. Speaking just from memory, I'm still trying to pull up the article here. This lady has said horrible thing to Democrat candidate. I forget her name, something Bain. And she's been saying stuff like she hates Nashville. I mean, she points out some things that you can hate about Nashville, but she was specifically talking about the people. And so she's like, yeah, defund the police kind of person, and it's just absurd. It's just absurd. Anyway, got the article back up. Okay, so this is from Nashville. Republicans hold on to the GOP-controlled vacant congressional seat in Ruby Red, Tennessee, after winning a hotly contested special election by 9 percentage points on Tuesday. Republican nominee Matt Van Epps Tuesday defeated Democratic rival Afton Bain, according to the Associated Press, in the high-stakes race to succeed former GOP Representative Mark Green, who resigned from office in June to take a private sector job. Quote, this race was bigger than just one campaign, Van Epps said in a statement after declaring victory. It represented a defining moment for Tennessee and for the direction of the country. With the GOP clinging to a razor-thin majority in the House, the special election has been a must-win for Republicans. President Donald Trump carried the 7th Congressional District, which is located in central and western Tennessee, stretches from Kentucky to Alabama, and includes parts of Nashville, by 22 points in last year's presidential election, and Green won the district by over 20 points in his 2022 and 2024 re-elections. But Democrats have energized following their decisive victories in last month's 2025 elections, and public opinion surveys suggested a close contest between Van Epps and Bain in a showdown that has a key barometer for the ahead of next year's midterms, blah, blah, blah. What's going to go on in the future, obviously. Yeah, so it's not good because people like Zohran Mamdani are winning sometimes. And the fact that the unhinged people that the Democrats are putting up to run against these Republicans, and the fact that they get as many votes as they do is appalling. It's appalling. I mean, the fact that the Republicans have a razor-thin majority is appalling to me. These Democrats are insane. I used to think that there's only two types of people who vote Democrat. The stupid and the evil. I used to think it was just the stupid. Now I'm starting to think it's the other one. The other one. All right, let's talk about how Trump oversells shit. All right, Trump says Americans may soon pay no income tax as White House explores alternatives to revenue streams. I'm sure EK would love to see the math.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Okay. President Donald Trump suggested Tuesday that Americans may not even have income tax to pay in the near future, saying tariff-driven revenue could allow for historic elimination of the federal income tax under his tenure. Trump told a press gaggle after his cabinet meeting that at some point in the not-too-distant future, you won't even have to have income tax to pay, arguing that revenue in the government is collecting under his administration is now so great, so enormous, whether you get rid of it or keep it, or you have fun, or Whether you get rid of it or keep it around for fun and have it really low, much lower than it is now, we won't be paying income tax. Excuse me. If enacted, abolishing income tax would mark the most ambitious overhaul for the American tax system in more than a century. Trump's repeated public support for replacing income tax with tariffs makes this the most explicit endorsement yet. Earlier in the second administration, the president floated a tax plan eliminating income tax for individuals earning under $150,000. The tariffs proposed as a replacement. It is time for the United States, this is a quote, to return to the system that made us richer and more powerful than ever before, the president said back in January. Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich foreign nations, we should be trafficking and taxing foreign nations to enrich our citizens. When asked if he was serious about eliminating personal income tax by podcaster Joe Rogan, then candidate Trump said, yeah, sure, why not? Said tariffs could fund the government instead of wage taxes. I don't know. I'd keep my income being taxed if it meant we were going to chip at the debt. That's kind of what I'm more concerned about. I'd rather you start chipping at the debt with that money. Get us out from underwater in that regard. I don't know why it bothers me that we were okay with the debt being what it is. If my credit card was overdrafted, it would be my sole concern to fix that problem. Anyway. So we'll see it. We'll believe it when we see it, Don. I'm glad he's president. I can go back to being skeptical about the things he says. All right, let's go on to this terrible, terrible story from New York. Man charged with attacking New York student has 16 prior arrests. James Rizzo, 45, faces multiple charges, including forcible touching and assault in relation to the Monday morning incident. The man arrested for allegedly attacking a 20-year-old New York University student near the college's Manhattan campus had 16 prior arrests, according to police. Women can't walk around safely, you know what I mean? What is wrong with these New York leaders? James Rizzo, 45, was busted by New York. You don't see that much in print. New York City Police Department and charged with persistent sexual abuse, forcible touching, and assault in relation to the incident. Rizzo allegedly approached the student from behind at around 9:20 a.m. on Monday, slapped her head and buttocks, pulled her hair, and ran off, police said. Two of those things I understand. I guess I understand pulling the hair. Sometimes girls like the hair being pulled. But slapping on the back of the head, is that your kink? I met this guy the other night, we made love. He kept slapping me in the back of the head, though. Anyway, he was perp walked out of the Manhattan police precinct on Tuesday night dressed in a black hoodie and gray sweatpants. He did not say anything to quizzing reporters as he was escorted into the police car. He's quizzing as a verb. Good. Or is that an adverb? Quizzing. Verb. New York Post reported Rizzo's 16 prior arrests include sexual abuse, forcible touching, repeated assaults on women, burglary, and a 1997 murder arrest. That's all. And that's all he had. And he's still walking around the streets. He previously served a 2-year state sentence for persistent sexual abuse before being released on parole in September, the records show. What'd he do? He went out and did the same damn thing again. Police confirmed to Fox News that Rizzo appears on the New York Sex Offender Registry, where he's listed as a level 2 sex offender with 2 publicly posted mugshots. According to the registry, why do you post the mugshots if you're not going to keep them in prison? Why do you want people looking for them if you're not going to keep them in prison? Those people who were out there whining about like Hegseth and the strike on these people. Oh, he's trying to kill the enemy. Yeah, you want to keep people like this alive? Why is this guy alive? I'm at that point now where it's like, I can't believe this guy is not dead. Why hasn't someone shot him? Is it because they took all the guns out of New York? One of my favorite scenes from Predator 2 is when all those people in L.A. and the guy pulls a gun and all the people on the train pulled a gun. And then the Predator kills them all because they're all armed. That society seems safer to me. In that 1980s fantasy LA version, that society seems safer to me. Because if you see a guy feeling up some chick, slapping her on the back of the head, obviously you may be confused by the slap on the back of the head. It's like, what is this guy up to? But then he slaps the butt and then pulls the hair. It's like, okay, I kind of get what he's going for now.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, it's sexual. Okay. The head thing threw me off, you know. Then maybe you could pull a gun and like just shoot this guy, and that ends the story of him. And then there's no more future crimes that he's committing, you know. And so I'm real sick of justice being taken so lightly. You know, if you're a woman in New York City and people like that are still walking the streets, I don't know what to tell you. I'm like, come, get out of there. It's like, come to me, especially if you're hot, because there's a lot of hot New York chicks in New York. If you're hot, come to me. I'll teach you self-defense, and I promise you, I'll keep you safe from idiots like this. Well, I don't know if I can promise you that. I may need some money. To keep you all safe. Depends how many people show up. We'll take up a collection. We can pass a hat around. We've got a hat over there. We can do it. Yeah, you're whining about killing the enemies of the United States of America, but no, we got to keep this guy alive. All right, let's lighten the mood. 2 lighter stories, and then we're going to get out of here. So, I love how EK caught this right away, too. So let's see if you can catch it. All right. Contractors renovating Washington State home discover case of live military grenades packed with TNT. Did you catch it? Here's the truth of the matter. It was a case that had 10 live grenades, pineapple grenades, in it. Probably World War II, Korean War era, maybe. I don't know. Vietnam, I think they used pineapple. Anyway. But it wasn't grenades packed with TNT like it was a homemade device. All right, it was grenades and TNT packed separately. So it should have been live military grenades. Live military grenades packed alongside TNT. Change one word. I'm sorry to go all editor mode, but EK caught it and it was off-putting. All right. I know I did that little freedom of speech talk the other day, but this is print. This is print.
That's some self-respect.
Should I find the writer? Read him. Stephen Soros. Shame. Anyway, let's read the story. Contractors renovating a Washington State home stumbled upon a case of live military-style hand grenades packed with TNT. Did it again. Packed alongside TNT, triggering a Bob Squad response and the shutdown of a nearby road, authorities said Monday. It doesn't change anything else. It's still dangerous, but the way they worded it is, the response is appropriate and everything. So the explosive discovery was made on the property of a home in Olalla, really? A rural community in Kitsap County. The Kitsap County Sheriff's Office said. Workers immediately called the homeowners who were not living at home during renovations. According to the Sheriff's Office, the homeowners then called 911. Deputies responded and inspected the case before alerting state bomb technicians. The road near the home was also temporarily closed for public safety. Yeah, it could have been a big boom. There was a lot of... Yeah, there's 10 hand grenades, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 canisters of TNT. Inside of 10 grenades, bomb technicians determined were packed with TNT. See, he did it again. Packed near TNT. It's like he doesn't understand how confusing that is. Technicians also found blasting caps and other explosive devices. I bet they mean like fireworks. Yeah. An explosive ordnance team from Naval Submarine Base Bangor also responded to the property and seized the grenades, and the authorities believed that were military issue. State bomb squad secured and seized the remaining explosives. Homeowners told authorities that they had recently purchased the property, had no knowledge of the case or explosives before the contractors made discovery. The Kitsap County Sheriff's Office is investigating how the devices ended up on the property. You know what? They found it and they reburied it and they waited for the contractor to find it. That's what I think. Or maybe it was his and he's like, I can't hang on to this. We're moving. We're in Washington State now. Where'd they come from? That's where I want. They're coming from Texas. He's like, I can't keep this. we gotta get rid of it. I got an idea. Anyway, that's wild, isn't it? Some people will say, see, that's why you should guns and stuff like that. That's why grenades should be illegal. I don't think grenades should be illegal. Anyway. Shall not be infringed. Anyway, we should have the same stuff that the government has. Alright, let's go to this last happier story, then we're out of here. Racoon breaks into a liquor store, passes out in bathroom after booze-filled rampage. I got a bigger picture of the raccoon passed out on the floor, and I'll love it if you want to pull that up at some point. An inebriated raccoon was taken into custody after allegedly breaking into a Virginia liquor store on Black Friday, partaking what officials have deemed a liquor-fueled rampage. A trail of smashed liquor bottles led police to the masked suspect. All right, I got to go to this guy's name. Who wrote this? Alexandra Koch. Coach? K-O-C-H. How do you pronounce that? Koch? Been there, buddy. Good job, but you had a lot of fun writing this article, man. Smashed liquor bottles led to the police to the masked suspect, who was found passed out in a sploot position. I would have picked a better, like a prone position, maybe. Sploot. I've never heard that before. Position in Ashland's, not far from us, business bathroom floor, according to the Hanover County and Animal Protection and Shelter. An embarrassing photo shared by authorities. The plastered procyanid. You pulled up Google, huh? Could be seen lying next to the garbage can and toilet. The town later identified the four-legged intruder as Cole. They know him? Noting he may need a ride home after a wild weekend. Oh, they just named him. Okay. Cole, you partied out again, man. What's up? You need a ride home? Officials said police brought the furry bandit to the animal shelter to sober up. After a few hours of sleep and zero signs of injury, other than maybe a hangover and a poor life choices, parenthetically, he was safely released back to the wild, hopefully having learned that breaking and entering is not the answer. See, all these charges get dismissed. They're just so easy on the criminals these days. The shelter added that there is no footage of the incident. The raccoon entered the building through the ceiling and took cameras down with him. This guy's like a professional. Police have he took out the cameras first, but then I guess maybe he didn't expect the liquor, and he's got a problem. Like that scene like Tropic Thunder where Jack Black turns around, there's that mound of heroin there, I got a problem, I got something to do, but scotch. I only got the one picture, but the picture of you can kind of see it. It's like a bunch of broken booze bottles up there. It was a mess. He must have had a hell of a time. And let's see if this lady wrote anything else funny. Cole, okay, yeah. Police not have. Okay, this is great. Police have not yet released a motive for the Trash Panda's invasion, though they responded to the animal shelter's statement with a gif of TV talent Judge Simon Cowell clap. Last sentence of the story. Cole could not be immediately reached by Fox News Digital for comment. Alexandra, very well written. Excuse me, you made me laugh hard. It's one of those stories that I like because there's absolutely everyone can get on board with why that's awesome and funny. So I really like that kind of stuff. So we're going to be ending the show. I hope outro 3 is nice and queued up. I want to remind you, I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I'd very much appreciate it. Or you can send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. Or you can follow me on social media at DNALETSAW. That's the word wasteland spelled backwards on Twitter. At SLRobbins13 on the Instagram. And Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook. This has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.
The madman loves you all, from the big to the small. He loves you from afar, no matter who you are. The The madman